start
Le da,
live
le da.
webinar.
Pues estamos en directo y estoy intentando mirar.
It's in English,
Sí.
Carlos, remember.
Okay, well, fortunately, it's just us as for now, so no problem checking the attendance here. And the content I'm going to present. Okay. Why can't I present this? Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I like it better like this. So, how many people were we expecting here?
So for the English webinar was 20 something. It's 14 attendance at the moment. So let's wait for a couple minutes. Carlos, okay?
Mm-hmm. Sure, fair enough. Yes, I can't see. Oh, okay. Now I got it. I got it. I was in the wrong tab looking for the. I was checking the attendance on the stage, so it was just you and me, and I was like, "This isn't possible." Okay, so I see. We have. Oh, we got quite a few people joining us. Yeah, okay. So hello everyone. We're gonna give a couple of minutes for whoever joins a bit late to make sure everyone catches the whole of the presentation. And yeah, let's see. Let's see how we go.
So first thing, can everyone hear us properly? You can see the presentation, all of these. Please, you can write in the chat if there's anything's not working or if it's working. Yeah, would appreciate if you can tell us.
Okay.
And yeah, you have the Q&A section. You can put your questions there or in the chat. So yeah, feel free to ask whatever you need. So Carlos, perhaps we can start with the intros a bit, or although I think that they're kind of bored of us already.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's start it. So hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, evening, with this new webinar of our series. I'm Carlos Prallong. I belong to the Business Development Department, fiscally, and with us is also my friend Eduardo Jacobo. Good afternoon, Eduardo.
Good afternoon, Carlos. I'm also part of the business development team. And by the way, apologies for I had to connect through my phone because of well, I had a replacement of my PC. So today I'll be joining you through my phone.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that we can start whenever you want,
Yeah.
Carlos.
Let's move forward. Yes. We have to, well, I said like this new webinar in our series, some of you were already with us last week when we made some brief introduction into the all Verifactu universe that we're digging into. Today we're going to go a deep further, and one thing I would like to tell you, especially those who were with us last week, um, we received hundreds, if not thousands, of questions. We've been replying to all of them. We created a document with the most frequent questions and their answers and mailed it to everyone. If you sent us a question and you haven't received a reply as of yet, please uh, send it again to equipo@fiskaly.com because we are making sure we don't leave any question unanswered. So today we're gonna, as I said, dig a bit deeper on where we started last week. We have a new fiscal landscape in Spain, and it's important for us to understand how it's going to affect, especially software vendors in this case. So today we're going to cover the anti-fraud law and Verifactu, of course, the implications that it has for billing software, the technical requirements any software must have to comply with this law, and we will give a few tips on how to comply without having to fully change your software. So let's go briefly through the legal framework. For those of you who were not here last week, we got some fiscal regulations in Spain. In the Basque Country, we have ticket buy in the three provinces of the Basque Country. Navarra also has a system that they're going to launch after Verifactu. We don't have a proper name yet. We only know that they're going to do it for sure. And on the rest of Spain, we got two different systems. We got for companies with an annual turnover over 6 million euros, we have the SII, immediate providing of information, suministro inmediato de información. And for companies under 6 million, we have the anti-fraud law, the Verifactu system. So, so to summarize, a part of the Basque Country and Navarra, all throughout Spain, any taxpayer with an annual turnover under 6 million euros will have to comply with the anti-fraud law and the Verifactu system. And software developers and vendors will have to make sure the softwares are adapted, because there's not only sanctions and fines for contributors, but also for software providers. Actually, a contributor faces fines up to 50,000 euros. Software provider can face some fines up to 150 per customer. So we're talking very, very serious fines there, very serious things. So again, for, we went through this last week, but it's important to check it like a bit of the time frame we went to. The anti-fraud law comes from far back, but it was like in the end of 23 when they actually published the regulation. Uh, it was the whole regulation, but some parts that were supposed to be finished and complied in the ministerial order that was to come early this year. It didn't come early this year. It came like in October 28th, last month. And that started a 9-month period that all the software vendors have to have our software systems ready. And also for the tax agency to have all the structure they need to receive all the registers that we need to send them in real time, as we will see now further into this presentation. As of today, the official date when it will become mandatory for taxpayers is still standing as July 1st, 2025, but we know this is not going to happen, mostly because it doesn't make any sense that they have to comply before software vendors have to have the proper tools in place. So yeah, the information tells us what everything signs or points that the date is going to be January 1st, 2026 for contributors. But as I said, the important date here on this webinar is July 29th, 2025. That's when our softwares must be ready. What are the implications for invoicing software? And I'm super happy that Eduardo is here with us because he knows them quite much better than we do. So Eduardo, tell us a bit about computer invoicing systems, please.
Thank you, Carlos. So yeah, basically in there we have kind of quoted what it is said in the law, and we have these kind of fancy words, integrity, accessibility, traceability, etc. But basically we could sum it up as that basically when a customer of yours issues an invoice, they cannot edit it. This is what it could be summed up with. It's true that in that other slide we had different adjectives there. We talked about the traceability, which refers to the chaining. Yes, sorry, Carlos.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Sorry about the problems we're having here. So yeah, basically, as I was saying, it also talks about traceability, which it refers to the chaining of the records, which is something we take care of. It talks about the conservation of the files, which is something we also take care of. It also talks about accessibility of these files, which we also take care of. So basically, yeah, in there we're defining different things that the computer software has to comply with, but we take care of it, okay? And the only thing you need to take care of is that invoices, when issued, cannot be touched. They are untouchable, okay? What are the technical requirements? Yeah, so basically, the first one is that once we issue an invoice, it doesn't matter if it's a simplified invoice, a complete invoice, a rectifying invoice, there's a record that has to be issued. This obviously happens in the back. The customer doesn't see it. And in these files, we have relevant information of the transaction that we will send to the tax authority. We need internet connection. All the Spanish anti-fraud laws, as Carlos mentioned, Ticket by Navarra and Verifactu, have to be complied with internet connection. There's no offline scenario, okay? This doesn't mean that you cannot sell if you don't have internet connection. You can, but there's a specific process on how to proceed, okay? But in general terms, you have to have internet connection, or better, your customer has to have internet connection. Yeah, so files have to be electronically signed. We will now see, and Carlos will explain it a bit more, and we talked about it in the previous webinar, that we have two different ways of complying, the Verifactu mode and the non-Verifactu mode. Signing electronically these files is compulsory in the non-Verifactu mode, and it is optional in the Verifactu mode. But this is also a requirement, a technical requirement on this law. Then the QR code, I would say this is the most relevant thing, because this is what your customers will see. Your customers will see their invoices as always. And by the way, when we talk about an invoice, again, we talk about any type of invoice. It doesn't matter if it's a simplified invoice, a ticket, receipt, however you call it in your respective country, okay? Any sale has to be fiscalized. So again, what I was saying, your customer will keep seeing the invoice as usual, but they will see this QR code that once scanned, it would redirect them to the web page of the tax authority. Okay, and then the last technical requirement is that we need to know how to process the responses from the tax agency. The tax agency will do some validations, will send us the specific errors that we have perhaps committed, and we need to take care of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Now we can. Carlos, you can tell us a bit about the two modes.
Yeah, because this is something I'm sure all of you heard about. Well, especially the ones who were with us last week. But this is like a question that keeps popping up. They say about Verifactu, they say about non-Verifactu. Does non-Verifactu mean I don't need an internet connection? Fortunately, Eduardo explained it very clear. You need an internet connection. I mean, there are two ways of complying, but they're not so different after all. So you register any sort of transaction, you change the records. I mean, you create the record, you change it, and then that's when the two modes are. In Verifactu mode, you send it straight to the tax agency. In non-Verifactu mode, you apply an electronic signature, and you save it with some measures of security that the law states. And in both cases, you end up with an electronic invoice generated, or the invoice generated with a QR code. Maybe Eduardo will tell us a bit more about the register.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to tell us about the.
Yes. No, I just wanted to make a brief clarification, which is that all you're seeing here is taken care by us. Everything. Okay. You just keep sending us, I mean, some of you are working with us in other products, but basically the only thing you have to do is send us the JSON with the relevant data of the invoice. Okay. All of these you're seeing, the record creation, chaining, signing, sending, storing, etc., is done by us. Okay. This is just so that you know what's going on in the back. Okay.
Yeah. So this is like a very overall overview of the process. Now we go like step by step, and maybe Eduardo, you can tell us a bit about the register that they have to generate.
Yeah. So these registers, I mean, there are different types of register. It's not the same as it's not the same type if you register a simplified or a complete invoice versus if you issue a corrected invoice. Okay, the tax agency has specified different type of registers. In there, we're basically gonna put the relevant information of the transaction. These are issued again when we receive the information from your software in the JSON. Okay, and this is basically the information we will send initially to the tax agency. Carlos, can you go to the next, please?
Sure.
Yeah, chaining of records. So in Verifactu, obviously, all records have to be chained. They have to be chained based on the taxpayer, not on the point of emission, on the specific hardware where it has been issued. Obviously, there's in each record there has to be a hash, and the formation of this hash is specified in the technical requirements of the law. And yeah, this is something we're also taking care of. You can go to the
Yeah,
next,
but
Carlos.
no, but
Yes.
I'd like to make a little clarification
Yes.
here, because sometimes there's confusion, like they
Yeah.
ask us how they have to chain the invoices, have to chain their own invoices and whatever. Okay, the chain goes upon the records. Like, I know you said it, Eduardo, but I'd like to stress this, like how
Yeah.
it's the records we create that have to be changed and include the hash and everything. It doesn't go on the invoice; it goes on the record
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah, that's important. That's
And now,
important.
exactly, and then we go to real-time sending, which is, well, Eduardo will tell you, but it's not real time per se.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I mean, in the end, it's kind of self-explanatory, but um, if we go to the specifics, in our solution, we have two endpoints, and here's the reason why. So basically, in Verifactu, they say it's real-time sending, but it's not really real-time sending. Um Files are sent every 60 seconds, and you can send up to 1,000 transactions. Okay, so this means that when you send us the JSON with the invoice information, we will right away send you a URL code, a URL that has to be contained in the QR code, but there may be some time, some seconds, until the tax agency has received and registered the transaction information. Okay, if any of your customers issue more than 1,000 transactions, you can send several packages in 1 minute. So there's no problem regarding that. But just for you to know, if your customers issue less than 1,000 transactions, we may have that time lapse. Okay. Do you want to add, Carlos, anything? I think.
No, it's you explained it crystal clear. So the electronic signature, which is yeah.
Perfect. So in the technical requirements, there are different ways of or different options of electronic signing. As we have said before, and Carlos has mentioned it, the electronic signature is only mandatory in the non-verifactu mode. Okay, because the non-verifactu, as we said, the files are signed electronically and they are stored. Okay, and if the tax agency requires it, we need to send them those files. Okay, but as we said, it's optional for the Verifactu mode. As we're mentioning, there are different ways of signing electronically these files. Our approach to it is that we will issue an electronic signature device so that your customers can issue our electronic signature device. And this way you don't have to deal with handling your customers' devices, or even asking them to issue one if they don't have it, etc. So that's the approach we will follow.
Yeah, and the very interesting part, I mean, we're supposed to talk about the law and not our company, but I'd like to stress like how we are going to apply electronic signature in both cases, both verifacto and non-verifacto. We're going to add this extra
Mhm,
layer of security, so which
mhm,
is not mandatory, but I think it always goes in our benefit. So yeah, and then we generate the invoice with the QR, of course.
mhm. Uh, so, as we said, this is the kind of the most relevant thing because your customer and the end customer, so the customer, your customer, this is what they will see. So, at some point in time, in some months, they will get used to seeing this QR code. So, as we said, this QR code will be displayed or will be printed at the end of the invoice. And if it's scanned, it will go to the, it will be, sorry, they will get redirected to the web page of the tax agency. Uh, just to make it clear, this QR code has to be printed always, regardless of if you use the Verifactu or the non-Verifactu mode. Okay, the responses will be different. If you use the Verifactu mode, which is the recommendation from the tax agency, you will see um, verified invoice, and you will see it in green, and you will see the logo of the tax agency and all of this. If, on the contrary, you have a QR code in the non-Verifactu mode, once you scan it, it will say non-verifiable or not possible to verify this invoice. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's not compliant, but that the tax agency is saying I can't verify, I can't really verify this invoice. Okay.
Okay, and once we have these registers, we have the secure archiving of it, which in our case, well, do Eduardo, please.
Yes. So as we said, this is also part of the obligation, being able to store these XML files, okay, because the tax agency may ask for them. And it's true that we may be in a riskier position if we opt to or if we choose the non-Verifactu mode. Okay, so yeah, basically we have the obligation of storing these files, and we have to, and they have to be accessible and legible by the tax authority.
Okay, and finally, the responsibility declaration, which is something that comes up on every single every
Yes,
time.
yes, it comes up every time. So in Spain, there's no certification process as such. It's basically responsibility of declaration. It's basically a document that you have to fill in. Um, and basically, it's where you state that um, you declare that you think, you believe, because of X, Y, Z, that you're complying with the law. Okay. Uh, we think it's a bit of a riskier process because you don't have a proper yes or no from the tax authority, but it's the way to go. For Verifactu, in this case, us as fiscally have to do the responsibility of declaration, okay, as we will take care of almost all the Verifactu obligations, but you as a software provider have to do the responsibility of declaration, the declaration of responsibility as well, because the tax authority assumes that you have to at least minimally adapt your software, even through API calls. Okay. In any case, we will help you through this process and through complementing this document.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, maybe we went through all these technical requirements and we went a bit ahead of ourselves saying how we could help you. This was supposed to now is when we're supposed to explain you this, but I mean we really want to help you guys. So that's why we did go ahead of ourselves. How we can comply without changing our software or without developing like a full new solution. And in our case, we can speak about SignES. That's our API. We have this API. You integrate it. If you integrate it in your software, we'll take care of, as we've been pointing out in each section. We'll take care of your fiscal compliance. We'll make sure that we create the proper registers. We change them properly. We send them to the tax agency. We store them securely. All you have to do is receive QR code we will give you every time you send us the JSON with the data that we need, and you'll be fully compliant with the different regulations. Because and the advantage it has is like with one API, with one single integration, you can comply with all the different agencies. And it's true, Eduardo.
Hmm. Yeah, as you mentioned, and this is what we have in other countries. Our strategy, our objective is to have just one API that complies with all the regulations. And so that, let's say that there's a new regulation issued, you need to adapt to it, and we want you to invest the least amount possible. So, for example, for those of you that already integrated ticket buy, you're almost good to go for Verifactu. You just have to do uh, a really small integration or extra integration effort. So this is a bit our value proposition and how we think we're
Yeah,
useful to our customers.
exactly. Because well, there's quite a few benefits using our product, like of course the obvious avoiding penalties. You stayed updated with regulatory charges because many customers of us, when they speak with us, they tell us that their problem is not developing a solution or maintaining it. It's like staying up to date, reading all the official bulletins to know if there's changes applied or whatever. We give you the technical support you need, real-time reporting. Our integration is super simple. It takes like 2 to 5 days to integrate. Uh, we fully prepared, of course, in case of tax audits. We got the right endpoint, so we can provide you with all the information with an easy click. And we save on develop. You guys can save a lot of money and resources on development and training. Because I mean, you just rely on us, the compliant, the fiscal compliant, and you can focus on what you really do best, which is developing your software and making sure your customers are happy with its use.
Mhm.
I don't know if Eduardo would like to add anything here.
Oh, I think you explained it perfectly, Carlos. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, well, and please allow us to tell us a bit about the company since we're here. Fiscally, we're market leaders in Germany. We're number one cloud-based fiscalization solution there. We're strong in Austria, which is our home. We got over
Mhm.
200,000 businesses that rely on us to comply with with the relevant tax agencies, and we have over 650,000 points of sale that are currently on a daily basis complying with the different tax authorities through our APIs. So yeah, we got the experience, we got the knowledge, and we're here to help. So yeah, uh, there's one thing. Once we told you about ourselves, it would be very helpful to us if you could tell us a bit about yourselves. It's just simple 2 3 questions about how you're facing this new challenge that Verifactu represents for all of us. It would, I mean, for us, it would be super valuable information to know. I mean, it's just 2 3 questions, test mode, very easy. So we would very much appreciate it if you could give
You
us a
should
hand
see
there.
it in the interactions tab, right?
Yeah,
Carlos, they
it
should
should
see
be
it
in
in
the
the
right.
interaction.
It should be in the right side of your screens as of now. So yeah, we would really appreciate it if you just spend like I don't know. I think it takes like 15 seconds to reply them all. And okay, it's a pleasure for me to announce that very soon we will have yet another webinar going, but this time it go deeply, and those interested in integrating TinyS will go deeply into the integration, the requirements, and how it work. It will be held by Eduardo, so maybe Eduardo and our friend Lucas Crepas, maybe Eduardo, you can tell us a bit about what you cover, what you go through in this webinar.
Yeah, I mean, we'll basically try to dive deep into our SignES integration, so that you can really understand the different endpoints, what you have to fill in, etc. So yeah, that's the focus.
Okay, they tell me you can also register here. There should be a sort of a banner or somewhere in the screen. I can't see it myself because I'm in presenting mode, but according to what they tell me, you should have a way to register if you want to right away. It's very promising. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. And well, we asked you, we told you before to please post your the questions you may had on the chat version. You can keep on doing so. We're gonna try to cover as much as we can. So far, like we haven't posted any. I guess we're really good. We just explained things so super clearly, but I'm confident you might have some questions here. I would like to stress um, that regardless how frightening this all this sounds at the beginning, is I mean it's just like a whole new deal. Like we've passed here in Spain, we passed from 0 to 100 just like this. There was no fiscalization whatsoever, and now every single transaction must be registered. We have to create a register, send it electronically, or send it here. I mean, it sounds like a big change, and of course, it is a big change. But fortunately, we have the technology, we have the knowledge in Spain. So okay. Luis is asking, can you explain better the difference in the two modes of Verifactu? Okay, I understand you were asking about Verifactu and non-Verifactu mode. Okay, it's pretty much the same. You create a register, you have to create the same XML file, but once you have it and it's changed with its hashtag, in Verifactu mode, you send it straight to the tax agency. In
Mhm.
non-Verifactu mode, you have to sign it electronically. That's what you do. And then,
And
in
sorry.
both cases, you store it securely and give the QR code back to the electronic invoice or the whatever, to the invoicing system. So I mean that's pretty much the differences. And we as fiscally, well, we make them even more similar because we apply the electronic signature in both cases. So the only difference is that in Verifactu mode we send it, and in non-Verifactu mode we don't send it and store it right away. So that's
Mhm.
the only actual physical difference. I don't know, Eduardo, if you'd like to illustrate us a bit further into this.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the technical difficulty in the non-verifactu mode is higher because the tax agency thinks that avoiding the transmission has a higher risk in committing fraud. So yeah, we didn't comment it that very much, but the technical requirements are higher for the non-verifacto. But in either case, we'll offer both. Your customer can choose, but we strongly suggest, and the tax agency strongly suggests, to use the verifacto mode.
Yes, exactly. But not only the tax agency, if you ask us personally,
Yeah.
Carlos and Eduardo, we would encourage you, and I insist, go for Verifactu mode. If your customers ask you, please be adamant there. Go to Verifactu mode, if only for avoiding inspections wise, because I mean the tax inspection just told us that they're going to that's the first filter they're going to do with all the information
Hmm.
they're going to receive. I mean, the first
Yeah.
they're going to give the ones that are doing very factor, they're going to take it for good, and they're going to focus all their investigation efforts on the non-verifactor. So if only for that reason, there we go. Okay, in the non-verifactor mode, do we need internet connection? Yes, you do, because the requirements are all the same, because either you don't have to send them, but if the tax authority asks you for some registers, you have to be able to send them right away from the very own invoicing system. So yes, actually the law, the anti-fraud law, states very clearly at the beginning that the goal is the complete digitalization of the business scenario in Spain. So yeah, you need an
Mhm.
internet connection. Okay, Eduardo, I'm going to read you this one. The shipment is not immediate, so in that case, do I have to wait to generate the QR until the? Oh, this is a very common question. Do I have to
Mhm.
wait to generate the QR until the invoice is accepted and I can print it?
It happens in milliseconds, so
No,
you
but
won't
no, but
notice.
they're asking like if you're not going to send it immediately to the tax agency, but you have to wait 60 seconds. They're
Yes.
wondering if they have to wait until the reply from the tax agency to print the QR code, and
No,
that's
no, no,
not the
no, no, no.
case.
No. You print the QR code. Your customer can leave. If your customer, sorry, the end customer scans it, there may be some seconds where, the tax agency doesn't say, okay, this invoice is verified, it's all good, because there's this lead time. Uh, but basically, your operations and the sales of your customers do not stop. They keep on going. They just print the QR code and they can leave. That's it.
Okay, Michael asks us, I think he joined a bit late. Am I understanding that all regions in Spain are covered by this law? Are there any exemptions in the requirements of fiscalization in 2026 by region, size of revenue, business area, etc.? Okay, not all regions of Spain are covered, Michael. They're all regions, but the Basque Country and Navarra, those have their own tax agencies, so they don't. The anti-fraud law doesn't apply to them or don't apply to them. And by size of revenue, those that invoice over 6 million euros a year are already complying as of today with the SII, which is the immediate providing of information system, and they do not have to comply with the anti-fraud law or the Verifactu system. So
Mm-hmm.
over 6 million don't have to comply. Navarra and Basque Country don't have to comply. The rest, yes, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. I thought it was earlier than this. We were sort of running out of time because we had like 40 minutes scheduled, and it's been like 37 already. So I don't know if there's any other questions that I missed on the chat. It moved so fast. I don't actually see them. But no, Eduardo, would you? Okay. Oh no, I was reading again the one of the QR code. How?
Mm-hmm.
How? Yeah.
Well, in
Sorry.
any case, if there are no more questions, you know where to find us. Uh, you can text us your questions. Um, Also, if you expected something different or you would have liked to make emphasis on, please tell us so that in the next webinar we can focus on that. If you were expecting perhaps something different, that is very, very valuable to us. Um, so that's it on my side. Thank you so much for joining
No.
and dedicating a bit of time to us.
Okay. Yeah. Let's call it a webinar. Thank you all for your assistance, and hope to see you soon. Well, next week on the next webinar. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.